If you're new to Rise of Kingdoms, you may see a bunch of buildings and you'll be thinking, what should I upgrade? What's good? What's high value? Well, today I'll be telling you everything you need to know about buildings in Rise of Kingdoms. I'll be telling you how you can upgrade them quicker, which ones are extremely important, and everything you need to know about them. So if you want to get a head start in Rise of Kingdoms and you want to smash everyone in your kingdom, then trust me, you have to stick around for this whole video. So as you can see here, I've maxed almost every building in my base besides a few. So today I'll be telling you everything you need to know about building upgrades in Rise of Kingdoms. Let's start off with some basic things. There are some buildings which cannot be upgraded, like the courier station, the museum, and like the blacksmith. These buildings all cannot be upgraded, but they are all serving a purpose that is not affected by a level regardless. So the next thing to know about buildings is there are some buildings which you are forced to upgrade for your city hall. And these are always going to be a wall, and the wall requires a tavern, and the tavern requires a quarry. So you will always have a quarry, a tavern, and a wall to level up every single time you level up your city hall. Then there's another thing to note is your watchtower plus your castle and your Sate Forum. These three buildings require a premium currency, and they're also something to keep your eye out for if you're going to be upgrading buildings. Now, also in comparison to other city building games like Clash of Clans, or I don't know if you've played any other city building game where you verse people, you don't want to rush your city hall. But in Rise of Kingdoms, it's different. Leveling up your city hall as fast as you can is extremely important and extremely high leverage. This is for a few main reasons. First, the higher your city hall, the more troops you can have out, and the more troops that you can have per march. Next, the higher your city hall, the more buildings you unlock. Like at City Hall 16, you get the blacksmith, and at City Hall like 12, you get the courier station. All these high value buildings, which are very cheap, that just require a higher city hall. So having them is also extremely important. And also the higher your city hall, the higher your academy can be, and as such, the more research you unlock. And the more research you have early game means the more people you're going to destroy. When you upgrade your city hall, there are a few buildings that you always should upgrade no matter what, even if the game is not telling you to. First, you've got your Alliance Center. This building allows you to request for helps. It also increases your reinforcement capacity, but that's not as important. Now, asking for helps is basically requesting for free speed-ups. So it's basically speed-ups that fall out of the sky because you're in an alliance. So having your Alliance Center as high level as possible will save you, not even joking, hundreds if not thousands of days of speed-ups. So that's definitely a must upgrade building. Next, your academy is also a must upgrade. It allows you to get more research, and it also increases your research speed the higher level you have it. So that's definitely an important building. Next, the other buildings which are not as important but are still fairly important. So first, you've got all your training buildings, especially early game where you're trying to push power. These buildings are higher leverage than they normally would be. You're able to train more troops the higher level you're building, and also you gain attack and defense bonuses, all depending on whichever building you're looking at. So these are all definitely things that you should be focusing on when you're upgrading your barracks, your stables, your archery range, all of these things. So especially in that competitive meta of the early game where everyone's trying to push power to get in the top alliances, the higher level your training buildings, the more troops you'll be able to train at once. And I guess the quicker you'll be able to train troops. So that is quite important. And a good alliance is also quite essential in Rise of Kingdoms. So you should have these at a decent level. Next, other buildings I recommend upgrading. First is your scout camp. Now this building's actually by itself almost useless. But once you reach A, late game, it's very good. And B, very early game, it's very good. The thing with the scout camp is the amount of resources you spend per upgrade, you actually get more back from completing the quest on the side here. These side quests here, they're very good. They give you a bunch of, you see, like resources. Let's say I upgrade a building, or I build 40 decorations, I get resources. Every time you upgrade a building, you actually get resources from these as like, I guess like a rebate. But really, they're not very useful for most buildings. However, for the scout camp, you get more resources than you spend. So if you've got a free builder slot and you want to just pump some resources that it's like an investment that you'll get back in like maybe a day, 2 days, then it's definitely worth the upgrade. And it's usually a cheap, easy upgrade to do and something you should do regardless. Next, you have the hospital. The way these work is they increase the capacity of severely wounded troops that you can hold. There are a few ways to get severely wounded troops, but mainly fighting people is the biggest way to get severely wounded troops. And the higher level your hospital, the more troops you can hold. Now, I don't think hospitals are that important. After level 20, you pretty much got as much capacity as you would need early game. Late game, yes, 25 is important, and level 24 is important, because you're going to be smashing way more marches into way more enemies. But especially first KVK, you're going to get yourself basically a bunch of hospital capacity from just being in an alliance that has the Ruined Crusader Fortress. And if you don't know what KVK is, just keep playing the game. You'll eventually get there. So these aren't as important as some other buildings. Then you've got your resource collecting buildings like your gold mine, your quarry, and your lumber mill, and your farms. So the way that these work is basically the higher level they are, the more resources they collect. So that's all they do. And if you've got spare builders, then yes, they're worth the upgrade. But after like a certain point, they become a little bit more expensive. And that's when you may consider, okay, am I going to allocate more resources to these like investments, or am I going to upgrade my city hall? That's for you to decide depending on where you are. These are probably more important than your hospitals, but I don't think they're more important than your barracks and your training things, especially early game, because they don't provide much power early game, but they will set you up in the long run for getting way more resources. Now, here are the few do not upgrades right now. So first, you've got, especially early game, the trading post. I see a lot of players who end up upgrading the trading post, and they think that they're going to get way more resources from trading with people. Trading with people is okay, but in the end, you're not going to make that many resources from it. There's really set economy rates in Rise of Kingdoms. Gold is worth 3 food and 3 wood, so either one of those, or about 2 stone. Stone is worth about 1.5 wood or 1.5 food. And so really, there's no way to profit off trading resources unless you're in like a bunch of noobs in a KD, or if you're selling resources, and that's not really like promoted by Lilith, and I don't recommend that. It's a very easy way to get scammed. So the trading post is not important for a main account. Farm account, different story, but this guide is not for farms. Then the next building I see a lot of people upgrading that's not worth it early game. The watchtower, I see a lot of people who upgrade this thinking it's going to protect their city from being attacked. The main things to protect your city from being attacked are, first of all, the peace shield. So having a peace shield will definitely help you. It's in the boost section. Putting these on before you go offline, or going to a safer zone, or increasing your power and making your city much harder to zero is also important. The watchtower is actually the first thing to die when your city gets attacked, so it's basically the most useless building, and it costs a semi-premium currency, which newer players tend to spend gems on, but it can be gained extremely easily by just bashing some barbarians. Like there's 10 here. And you can also get it from this event called Loha's Trials, I think. I'm not 100% sure the name. But basically you get like these bones from hitting barbarians, which you can open, and you can get like an absolute boatload of arrows. We had one that came around recently, and I went from 0 to 1,000 arrows, so I can't complain. Plus, you're going to have these in major oversupply once you reach the end game. Next, I see a lot of people gemming their castle. Don't do it, trust me, it sucks. Gemming the castle is not worth it, purely because the castle is only for whales who are rallying, and when you're rallying barbarian forts, at the most you need like 1 million capacity. So you'll be fine with like 1 million to 1.3 million capacity. And if you can't rally a barbarian fort, then A, you've got weak commanders, or B, you just haven't joined enough rallies to level up your castle. Plus, you can get books and arrows from buying these special bundles, so keep that in mind if you're looking to max Minamoto. You'll be getting a bunch of these books of Covenant and getting these arrows of resistance from there as well. So it makes it a bit more high leverage to buy these, especially early game. The one gem building that you should be focusing on, but it comes out in Season 2, is the State Forum. This you should gem to at least pick your level. You have to depend on what you want more. If you just want to get the bare minimum and you'll just work on it slowly over time, level 10 is perfectly fine. You unlock dispatches, you get the major dispatch chances, so these are important. Or you can go for level 14 where you unlock the 5th daily dispatch. So that means every 3 days you will get yourself a dispatch. I think it's like reward, a major chest. I'm just going to call it a major chest. Basically this thing, a dispatch commendation. You'll get that once every 3 days. Or you can go for level 20, because at level 20 you get 7 dispatch queues, and that's pretty high leverage as well. But after that it becomes way too expensive and not as valuable to gem your State Forum compared to other buildings in the game, and definitely your gem should be saved at that point. Even then, gemming to level 20 is quite whaley. That's like 15 to 20k gems. I don't know the exact math, but it's not cheap and definitely is something you should consider before you go all in on it. Now, if you've upgraded all these buildings, you're at City Hall 25, then you may have noticed that getting a building from level 24 to level 25 costs you a Master's Blueprint. Now, this item will cost you 2,000 gems, and it's going to be very expensive because you need about 10 to 12 of them, I'm pretty sure, to max your city for tier 5 tech. So getting these is going to cost you a pretty penny, up to about 25,000 gems-ish. So if you're looking to get these, trust me, there's one event that comes around called the More Than Gems, and you should be purchasing Master's Blueprints from the More Than Gems to A, make sure you get some more value from it, and B, it also makes them a little less disgusting, in my opinion, to purchase, because at least you're getting gold heads and stuff in return. So if you're going to buy these, I think just buy them in bulk, see how many you need, do some math first, don't overbuy them, buy them in bulk, and then you can use them slowly over time, and know that you got at least 20-ish gold heads from it, which is always nice. So now that you've reached later in the game, you're maybe going City Hall 24 to 25, then you'll be looking at building upgrades that take between like 10 to 60 days, and that's a lot of time. So the first thing you can do to reduce that time is request for the Architect title from your kingdom. The Architect title is a title given to players by either the King, the Queen, the General, or the Prime Minister, and it gives you an increased building speed of 10%. Basically, free thing makes you your building faster. Something to keep in mind here is the Architect title. When you activate the building upgrade, that 10% speed applies instantly, and you can get rid of the title after that and it won't change anything. Also, if you upgrade before you get the title, then that building speed won't affect the upgrade and you've already wasted a bunch of speed ups basically. Another thing that comes around is runes. Runes of the Artifice, I'm pretty sure is what it's called, will give you up to 15% more building speed. So if you're doing a major upgrade like a City Hall 24 to 25, then you definitely should try and get one of these runes before you do it. Now, being in an alliance also really helps. First of all, if you can convince your leaders to give you Counselor, then you're going to save yourself probably a day or two of speed ups. And then next, you can go into your technology, and an alliance with good technology will give you about 23% more building speed. So that's important if you're upgrading, especially a major building. I assure you, even if you're not in the top alliance all the time, if you message a leader or an R4 and you say to them, I need to do my City Hall upgrade from 24 to 25, or I just need to do some research or whatever, they will let you in the alliance so you can get those bonuses and also be more set for KVK by saving some more speed ups. Being in an alliance also allows you to get more helps and quicker, so the more helps you get, the better. Basically, if you get helps quick, first of all, you can speed it up quicker if you're trying to like push an event. And secondly, you can get yourself less speed ups needed on the building. If you're in a very dead alliance, like a farm alliance, it may take like up to 5 days to get all your helps, so it's not the most optimal. So getting alliance helps within like an hour to 2 hours, especially on like a major upgrade, is going to set you up. And if you're in a very active kingdom like KVK1, there should be at least 1,000 active players in your kingdom. So you'll be set by going into a fairly good alliance where you'll get all your helps basically instantly. Another thing top alliances all have is holy sites. So if you get the Earth Altar in Alliance, you get 5% building speed, which is also nice. Now the final quick tip for this video, so if you've made it this far, thank you. This is the final fairly decent tip. Try not to use many universal speed ups on building upgrades. Universal speed ups are speed ups that just say like 15-minute speed up, and they don't say anything else after them. Now the reason I say that is because once you reach the end game like myself, I finished my last building upgrade like a week ago, so I don't need these building speed ups anymore. If I do upgrade anything, it's going to be like a hospital or maybe a few resource collecting buildings. So these become completely redundant for me. That's why if you spend a bunch of these speed ups, these universal speed ups on building upgrades, you're going to be pretty down bad once you reach your first KVK or even your second and third KVK because you blew like 150 days worth of universals on building upgrades, and that's just not worth it in any way. The only time you could consider it is A, the academy, or B, like upgrading your troop things, because then they technically count as double speed ups because you're speeding up the time before your next research or before your next troop train. Now, if you got a lot of value from this video and you want to see more videos like this, please do consider subscribing. On the end screen of this video, I'll also have a guide to getting more resources quicker by farming better and making your farming more efficient in Rise of Kingdoms. So if you want to watch that and get yourself even further ahead of the competition, then please do, and I'm telling you, it really supports the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.